back, I'm curious if you're optimal, because I don't think I shared this story with you when we spoke last, but my main message is helping entrepreneurs stay healthy, because in 2011, we had 3 offices, about 30 employees, and we just had our 3rd child. So we had 3 children under the age of 4. And I was wearing most of the management hats and working 80 hours a week plus, and abusing my body, not sleeping enough. Right? Sleep is one of the first things that I've recognized that we entrepreneurs really sacrifice. And my body finally had enough. My GI system, my digestive system stopped working. And I was crippled. I was on my knees.
Are you tired of working more for less profits in your home service business? What if I could show you $100,000 in hidden annual profits in your business in less than 3 minutes? Would you be interested? And not only show you where, but how to create that 100K in 6 months or less without additional advertising or marketing spend, guaranteed. Just go to sharpenthespearcoaching.com to see how truly simple it is. That's sharpenthespearcoaching.com. Do it now.
All right, back on the Sharpen the Spear podcast with another incredible guest. I've got Lance Knaub with me. Dr. Lance Knaub. It's even more important when the doctor's in front of it. Okay, but we're going to get some great stuff today. You're going to love this episode. I'm looking forward to it. We're going to hit a number of things. And before all of that, as I always say, no one knows Lance better than Lance. Lance, give us the backstory, bring us up to speed, hit on a few things we're going to get into today. Then we're going to tear into it, and we're going to have some real conversation.
Yeah, first and foremost, thanks for having me here. For everyone listening, be sure to like and follow and support, Richard and all the amazing content that he delivers consistently. We had an amazing pre-call, so we'll dive into some of the specifics, but a little bit about myself. I'm a physical therapist by training, grew up on a 40-acre farm in Pennsylvania, didn't realize how good I had it. I was actually embarrassed to be out in the country, and, instead of life was so good. It's all about perspective, right? So I forgot that I didn't like chemistry, and I started off as a pharmacy student, but luckily I found my way to physical therapy, which was really a passion for me and my great and really a great first profession. And my wife and I started a practice in 2004, bringing physical therapy and fitness together, which no one still cracked the code, including us. So I still want to bring that to fruition. And we really poured our heart and soul into serving our clients, growing breakthrough physical therapy and fitness. I studied partnerships, and we brought our best people on as partners, which is not super common in the physical therapy world. So that was fun, really creating win-wins and building something special together. Around 2015, one of our key people in a development plan meeting looked me in the eye, and I was asking him to come with his shorter and longer term goals, and he said he wanted to run the company. And I, almost choked. Initially, I took a deep breath and relaxed and realized that could be a great thing. And I continued to mentor him and everyone on the team. And in 2018, he took over running our 5-location, $3.5 million company, which was our first child, our biggest investment. And that was exciting and scary at the same time. And then I was able to create my second act, and really, after talking to a franchise broker and being on the Shark Tank side of the equation, having a lot of fun with that, I realized I was too entrepreneurial to be a franchisee, and I wanted to serve other entrepreneurs and spend as much of my time with other entrepreneurs as possible. So I decided to do some coaching and started a new company, and put all my best thoughts and lessons learned into a book. And that's really what I've been focused on now the last 6 years, hard to believe. And I did continue to treat as a physical therapist up until 2023. And then there's a little bit more, we can touch on this. When you really create something special, private equity is going to look at you. So we can touch on some succession planning, exit planning as well, because there is a final chapter, which is all good, exciting stuff.
Oh, that's awesome, Lance. Awesome. Yeah, a lot to that, man. That's quite a journey over 20 some years there. That's really great. I love that you build multiple practices. That's always key. Didn't franchise. I think that's a good thing too. Okay, there's pros and cons to everything, right?
For sure.
There's some people who franchise, but it's not really a franchise, but then it ends up being a franchise because, and the whole deal. It's state law. Every state's got a different law. Then you're a franchise, you're not a franchise. And then the penalties are big and whatever that looks like. But when people manage multiple locations, okay, you build a business to do that. Now, to me, that's like it's kind of the true test of the entrepreneur. Okay, like, yeah, you can buy and sell businesses. We can do that as an entrepreneur, but can you build one, have the second one, third one, fourth one? Because what I always tell people, I do a lot of stuff with guys in construction. They build a great construction business, right? They're building custom homes or remodeling, whatever. And that's good. They get a lot of referrals and they're known, they're in their zone, right? They're in that whatever square mile radius.
Right.
You can't go 3 hours away, 4 hours away and just open up another place because you can't take your people with you, right? Because then that place isn't manned anymore. So you have to build something that's the system-wise, the whole process has to be duplicatable to plug people into it, right? So you can go to that next location, hire the people who work in an established system, and that technically is the franchise model.
Right.
Right. But you did it yourself. I deal with audiologists as well. Hearing aids saying the same thing.
Yes.
They've got multiple practices, same thing. And it's really cool to see how they manage it. Well, it's cool, it's good, and it's also, you're still kind of people dependent. Right? Like, because you get a couple of good physical therapists. They're just not walking around looking for jobs.
Right.
Right? I mean, these people are going to come from somewhere, probably just like an audiologist. They've got 6, 8, 10 years of school, whatever. So, they're usually employed, somewhere. They maybe got to relocate, right? So that's a big issue too. So I just want to commend you just for the achievement on itself, just to have that many locations. And then
thank you.
What you're doing now is you moved out of that, and I really think it's something that's really needed. I like you combine the fitness and the therapy, because, and I've been in the fitness industry since, I don't know, 90. Did all that stuff back in the day. I think I got my first personal certification, personal training certification in 93.
Okay.
So it's been a while. They just started doing them then, before you could just do whatever, right? So it's kind of, they started doing all that. But the point being that when you look at those two, they're always combined. If you can combine the two, because we did it with some of the high level sports teams and stuff like that, which is kind of, and they've got, that's their model. You got trainers, literally, then you have physical, they're all in-house, right? So they do that. So it's kind of almost like duplicating that kind of model in a sense, right? I mean, I'm totally guessing, Lance, so you can correct me, but it seems like that's kind of a duplicate almost.
Exactly. There's overlap. We look at it as a continuum, because traditional physical therapy, when people are getting off the table, they're getting pretty close to saying goodbye at a traditional physical therapy. Now, it happens to be a place that's more specialized in sports medicine. You're going to hopefully get some, specificity of training and help somebody return to sport. But in a perfect world, if somebody has an ACL injury or a rotator cuff, shoulder problem, they can be doing their lower body or upper body. They don't need to get completely deconditioned and not do any, kind of fitness. It's really a disservice the way, and even with private equity jumping to the end, right? They understand physical therapy and they don't want to have anything to do with fitness. So our model, we lost that. Right. So, and I forgot to mention in my intro, I love who you serve. My dad, I mentioned to you, is a heating and air conditioning guy, trained at York International for his apprenticeship and then worked at York International. I'm from York, Pennsylvania. And then audiologist, I definitely love the health professionals. So it's going to be fun.
Yeah, it's really something when that as you get older, I'm older now, okay, but I still go to the gym 5 days a week. And every day, almost every day, I'm working around some physical ailment in my ankle. The left ankle hurts today. I got to do this. I got to do this. I got shoulder's a little tight. I got to rub that out, before I go. I mean, every day, but you're always doing something.
Right.
I still accomplish something,
Yes.
because the key to success in any kind of fitness or health is consistency.
Right.
That's probably the biggest C you can have.
Probably similar in business and life as well, right? You could draw that analogy.
Yeah, it really takes showing up every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that you built into the practice, and it doesn't surprise me at all that private equity, they don't see, they can't, they're not, would you say, this is a complete guess, but they're really not about innovation?
Correct. Absolutely not.
They're about like
Proven model. Proven
this will
model.
work.
Yeah.
They're not the early adopters. So you're
No.
not going to go to the wrong investors.
Yes.
Right. So or you got to spend another 7 years to prove the model.
Right.
Right. That's the thing. So it's always challenging. So I totally get it. But I like there's in physical therapy, all that kind of rehab work, which I did a lot of as well. And I was fortunate to be around some really brilliant people who did that, from chiros to all that stuff, and that ability to get people back in the game. Just think about that. We get sport, get back on the field, play the game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's at a high level. Guys are getting paid millions of dollars. Of course, they want them back on the field to perform. But what about you? Now, you own a business, it's $3.5 million you're generating, every year. Like, you got to get back in the game. Like, whether that's a physical ailment,
right,
something in the head, right? We have to show up every day. No one knows losing and coming back the next day better than an entrepreneur. Okay.
For sure.
Right? We got to do that stuff. So I think from that health standpoint, that ability to be clear-minded, physically able to endure, whether that's time in the chair, time in the whatever, right? It's all of that. It's such a makeup. And I think for a long time in my business, well, not a long time, but maybe a period of like 6 years in my first business got to that point where I just put all that stuff to the side, the health,
right,
the fitness,
right.
And I call it being a 300-pound land tuna.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I hit 299.
Right.
And that was the wake-up call. So I never hit 300. It's the only caveat I got. I was 1 pound away. And they turned it around, so they heading back down the other way. But it was that thing where you let all that consume you from a business standpoint. Your health goes in the crapper.
Right.
Right. And that road back, go put on 40 or 50 pounds and then just try to get rid of it.
For sure.
Right. And work. So now you had stress of business, you go through all that, then all of a sudden you gain all this weight and like, oh, I got to get healthy. Well, where does your energy go to get healthy?
Right.
It starts leaving your business to focus on getting your health.
1,000%.
Right. And then it's this vicious, and it's not a vicious cycle, but you actually lost ground because you got unhealthy. Right. Because getting unhealthy caused you actually to perform worse.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So we think about this. Then you go to get back healthy and you're dedicating all this time and energy to eating right and working out and everything else. You're losing ground again.
And you're inefficient along the way at that time because you're not operating at 100%.
Exactly. That's my point.
Right.
Right. So I don't think people really, and entrepreneurs, they don't understand the physical effect on your business. I mean, your own physical effect, right? The mental clarity, everything else. And that was years that it cost me, right? To going up in weight, coming back down in weight, getting fit and everything else. It took, that's a big curve that I'm less than optimal.
And you're lucky if you did get it back. I'm curious if you're optimal because I don't think I shared this story with you when we spoke last, but my main message is helping entrepreneurs stay healthy because in 2011, we had 3 offices, about 30 employees, and we just had our 3rd child. So we had 3 children under the age of 4. And I was wearing most of the management hats and working 80 hours a week plus and abusing my body, not sleeping enough. Right. Sleep is one of the first things that I've recognized that we entrepreneurs really sacrifice. And my body finally had enough. My GI system, my digestive system stopped working. And I was crippled. I was on my knees. I couldn't eat. I was either in the bathroom or embarrassingly running to the bathroom, still trying to treat patients 12-hour days. And, I had to rule out cancer, celiac, Crohn's. It was definitely a rock bottom moment for me. So fortunately it was temporary and I was able to slowly get myself back on track. But yes, this is across all industries, the service industries, the health professions, not protecting your health and creating a healthy lifestyle, it is possible to create a healthy lifestyle and create a healthy business, which to me is getting paid for the roles that you have. And, this may not be the same as your tax returns, having double-digit profitability beyond that and creating a valuable asset that you could keep or sell. So that's the healthy part of the business.
Yeah, exactly. It's so critical. And I learned that from, again, my little journey, the up and down and all that stuff. And I love how I am now. And again, it's the game is kind of rigged against us from a nutritional standpoint. And we won't go down the full rabbit hole, but everything is against you. Being healthy is like an uphill battle.
For sure.
Okay. I mean, because it's
the harder choices at each step of the way.
That's the point. I'll say the choices are limitless.
Right.
Right. I mean, you go to the stinking hardware store and they got a rack full of candy at the checkout. Like, it's a hardware store.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like you can't go anywhere without some sugar waving in front of your face. So that's kind of how it is. But again, it's that intentionality. And I always like to tell entrepreneurs too, and you may have gone through this as well. We understand the ship we're leading, right? We're the captain of the ship. We know where we're supposed to be going. It's the how you get there. And how you get there for me is that intentionality of your health. What you're putting, the decisions you're making, because that can problem is eating can become autopilot.
Sure.
And that's what, I mean, you can't out-train a bad diet.
Oh my gosh,
of us know that.
One of our trainers, Steve Gano, one of our trainers' most, favorite quotes. So yes, totally love that. Yep.
Yeah, it's. I saw a video once. I'm sure you've seen it. The guy's like, what did he do? He ate 4 pieces of pizza, drank some Coke, did this, and got on the treadmill, cranked up, run as hard as he can. He ate 1,600 calories, and he's like, it's like it never happened then. Like You're never gonna. And it was 3 pieces of pizza and a Coke or something, So you just, those things are poignant. Right? I love that stuff. So we have to learn that stuff. But I think going back to it is the intentionality of us as top performers, okay, as a successful entrepreneur, someone who's running multiple places, everything, wearing a lot of hats out. That is a whole nother business conversation, how to get away from doing that.
Sure.
But I really want to focus on the health aspect, because whether you're wearing 9 hats or wearing 1 hat, your health is your health.
Right.
Okay. If you're wearing 1 hat, you're really focused. We call it being focused on your 5%. The 5% of the business only you can do. Okay. You need to be exceptional at that.
Okay. I love that.
And you can't be sitting around stuffing your face.
Right. And that'll probably be the CEO hat, that you're going to hand off last.
Exactly.
Which is arguably, right, the most valuable and skilled hat that we're all wearing.
Right. Yeah. So it's critical. So the health thing, and it's more than physical, right? The mental component, I'd love you to talk about that if you can a little bit. Just the physical, mental, I don't want to call it a dichotomy.
Sure.
But it kind of is. People tend to separate it.
Right.
And they kind of don't put the two together, but it's the human body. It's linked. Everything is linked. So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, definitely the mental part of the game. I had done my research in physical therapy on neurology and, neurological patients. And then I moved into sports orthopedics. And just more recently, I think it was actually Ray Dalio, who, many people probably know, one of the most famous investors in the world, who actually, started studying neuroscience and, really following, Andrew Huberman and all these modern day neuroscience people. So even when I put my 4% breakthrough book process together, the first section is really introspecting. So going into your mind and just really doing some self-discovery and, just trying to tap into the mental part of things. And then the third section, the middle section, by the way, is your business fundamentals, but the third section is lifestyle. And I tried to put it in priority order. So number 1 is mental health, and then nutrition, and then sleep, and then exercise, and then posture and ergonomics. So yeah, mental and physical, there is a total interplay. And I think more and more, right, with Simone Biles and, the athletes having, more prominent issues, and it's really coming to the forefront that mental health is critical. So, I couldn't emphasize it enough. And even, Napoleon Hill, for people that know Think and Grow Rich, right? It's all about, I guess the debate is really what should come first, a thought or an action? And the people, the experts debate that. But as Napoleon Hill says, right, you create things in your mind first. And then, even going to the nutrition part and how all this connects together, right? If we're not cognitively enhanced, like really just taking care of ourselves with sleep and nutrition, exercise, and luckily, I guess the service trades are moving because many people in today's world are definitely trapped behind a desk.
Nice.
So, just even some basic movement, if you're sitting behind a desk, you're going to break down. Right. There's definitely like overuse, like we're talking about top performing athletes, but today's desk warrior is going to break down just from sitting still. I mean, your discs in your spine and you name it, every part of the body is not good with disuse.
Yeah. It's dehydration.
Yeah. That's a big part of it.
As simple as that, you're not moving, that spine doesn't move, right? It doesn't lubricate itself. It's just all that stuff is like, again, people don't, it's always cumulative. I think that's what it's hard to get a look at the big picture. Understand it's all this little stuff.
Right.
It's taking the elevator.
And it compounds, right? So it can compound in a positive or negative way.
Yeah. I think it's really important that, again, it becomes, when you talk lifestyle, so people, I don't know how they break it down. Everyone breaks it down differently, but I think lifestyle is habits. Okay. So like, I like the stairs,
right?
I go up the stairs, I used to climb a lot. And then we had 23 flights of stairs at the club downtown in Chicago. And we do that up and down with 50 pounds on our back. Like that's a lot of stairs in the heat and everything. We do stairs, but then I'd always walk the stairs.
Right.
If I'm in a hotel and I'm on the second floor, I'm taking the stairs.
This is an example of the harder choice. And it's also an example of innovative thinking, because my parents did it. They moved into a rancher, right? They wanted to have less steps. But I've got, friends and people that I've taken care of as physical therapy patients who intentionally keep a second story, the 2-story home, to force themselves to continue to do steps and stay healthy and stay young and stay strong.
I think an obstacle course in the backyard would be really good too. Sad thing. It's those stairs and an obstacle course.
I love it
every day. So, but yeah, and I actually built one at my old house where I moved. I had this unbelievable. It's just stupid stuff, but it's like, the parallel bars. I'm moving boulders. I'm climbing these mountains I made.
Functional training,
swinging on ropes. I mean, I had my heavy bag. Yeah, so you do need to make it fun. That helps.
Yes,
when
for
it's
sure.
fun. But again, I think it's the habit. I used to meet a lot of guys in my club downtown Chicago. They were 60, 70, 80, still. They've been coming there for 50 years. I remember they had come for like 50 years working out every day. You see these guys like every day.
That's a testament to you. Wow, that's amazing.
And I just look at that like, you guys are amazing.
Yeah.
Like they just come in, and I don't mean they're setting records, but they are doing things. They have built a habit in their life, that it's just part of what they do, and they need it and they miss it when they don't do it. But these are all high performers too.
Right.
This is
obviously
top money in the city. You know what I mean? Like these guys are like, so they correlate.
Totally. And, I just heard Andrew Huberman, speaking of neuroscience, talk about, do you know who he is?
Mm-hmm.
He's a neuroscientist at Stanford, and really he's in, very good physical shape, but he talked about, the physical and the mental being in top physical shape. Because more and more, like a lot of the, higher, intelligent people in the past might have let their body go. But if you really look today, they're not. They're actually elite on both levels.
Yeah, I think there's an intensity involved. And for me, I forget who I was talking to the other day. It might have been my pastor. We were talking about doing hard things. I said, well, the physical hard things, like training, that's fun.
Right.
Like that's not hard. It's hard, but for other people, they're like, no, I'm like, I love it when I'm done. It feels so good. So I'll do that. But the other things that are hard, that don't take any real physical effort, that's what I struggle with.
Okay.
Those are the hard things. So when I have to choose hard things, I don't get to choose them for the physical aspect.
Right.
I have to choose them for the mental aspect, because that's what's difficult for me.
Yes.
I wish I could
definitely.
just go work out an extra half hour.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be hard? But I just get too much joy from that. So
Right.
it doesn't count.
Absolutely.
But it's just, but it is that there is that definite connection. I think when people tune into it and then they monitor their day, and I don't mean with you got a Fitbit and a watch and all.
Right.
What I mean is like you actually understand how you feel at 11, at 1, at 3, at 5.
Right.
Like, I'm working out at 5:30 in the morning. That's when I do my workout. Right.
Okay.
I get up at 4. I leave for the gym about 5:30, get there about 5:45, put in a really hard hour. It's great. Awesome. Come on, we get cleaned up, get the day going. So like, I'm monitoring my day. I go to bed at 9, so I have this time. So I start to see how I feel. If I'm dragging at 3, the first thing I do, okay, how much coffee have you drank today? Because I got my 2 functional mushroom coffees in the morning.
Okay.
But if I go and I have another cup or 2 because I'm working, doing the things I don't like to do, and it's my comfort thing, I go, that drags me down by 3, 4 o'clock.
For sure.
I'm tired.
Right.
That additional caffeine, I don't know. I quit for like 6 years at one time. Never had more energy.
Right.
I really like coffee.
I'm a zero caffeine guy. Some people can't believe it, but I guess on this topic, getting into a flow state more often, right? And flow is a whole thing, but I'm studying that. Even right now, I'm listening to Joe Dispenza. I'm going through his second book, and the brain waves, right? On EEG, your alpha, gamma, theta, delta, we can actually influence how often we're in what state and really try to get into a flow state more often for everyone listening who is leading company, one or more companies and doing big things.
Yeah, it's important. And I'll tell you another way to help you get in the flow state. Get rid of this.
Yeah. Yes.
Get rid of the telephone. At least silence it.
Yes.
That ding of the text thing is the most distracting thing. They say just the ding of a text, not reading it, nothing, will take you out of a deep state, a deep work state for 20 minutes. Take you 20 minutes to get back into it.
I've read
just
that
from
stat.
hearing the ding, right?
Yes.
So I was recording the podcast earlier, and I'm like, ding. And I'm like, my phone's not on. I'm looking, it's the other guy's thing, but ding. I'm like, dude, that's an absolute distraction.
Yes.
You just took us out of this great conversation, and the audience is going to go, they're all going to check their phone. They're going to hear that. They're all going to check their phone. Like, it's that kind of stuff. But this is really important. This flow state during the day from a performance standpoint, regardless of your industry, right? Because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're sweating pipe or working a keyboard, right? This thing is something, if you can give me your experience. So we look at the flow state, we understand this. Like, could I try to hit it like every couple hours? Where am I? What am I doing?
Right.
I'm not to have this list, but I'm really trying to understand what specifically have I done, right? How do I feel right now? I don't go for like, I better go do another workout so I feel better. But I'm like, where am I at in this? And why is it 7 o'clock and I'm tired? That kind of thing. So I don't know how that ties in from a monitoring standpoint and how you can correlate to like what you're doing during the day.
Yeah, I think that the human body is complex, and the human mind is, even more complex. And obviously they're all part of the same. Yeah, no matter how you break down all the different variables, I'm starting to track my sleep better with a Fitbit, and whether you use Apple, I think it has to be fun. We have to gamify it a little bit to look at some of the basics, like look at our sleep. Even my son challenged me to track my nutrition for 2 weeks, just the other night. So I'm going to do that. And I've done it before. And then exercise, right? Similar to you. I'm a physical therapist, personal trainer. So that's something I love. So that's easier. So I'm going to hit my strength training. Cardio, I love a little less. But I think having a plan, which is another thing that we were kind of, I wanted to share with the audience today that I'm passionate about. I feel like many entrepreneurs, especially salespeople, they tend to go straight to action. But I think it's absolutely critical, right? Like, what is it? The Art of War?
Sun Tzu.
Right,
Sun Tzu.
Sun Tzu, yeah. We can't run straight down in the trenches and go straight to battle. We're going to lose. We might accidentally run into the heart of the enemy, but we're probably going to lose. But if we spend about 10% and decide what makes sense, and we're going to go under the cover of night, right? You know all this with your background, but if we have, just some percent of strategy, can be small, we're going to have a much better chance. And I think that's the same thing with building habits as you're talking about, and even with our health. Decide which one of the key things: sleep, exercise, nutrition, posture, right? Especially if you're sitting, get up and move minimally every hour. The recommendation would be every half an hour, but minimally every hour. I just spoke yesterday to a 45-year-old in Florida, a friend of mine who had his wife get on the phone to discuss her back pain that's become chronic now after seeing the best people in the country, like sitting and posture. And then lastly, even beyond the book, and you've alluded this to it already, the things that I would add to that lifestyle section would be fun and play and humor, to mix those in. I feel like those are key ingredients which are easy to overlook.
Yeah, I think you can get a little neurotic in the planning and eating and working out, and you can start to schedule everything.
Right.
Because one of the things, I love tracking. Like I love I got an app and I can put in what I ate. I had this many grams of protein. I do my macros. Let's do all that. Okay, that's really good. But I feel like that imprisons me.
Right.
So I'm like, well, when does this end? And what happens when I do stop doing this?
Right.
Do I get, it's the old, everything works until you stop doing it. Then what happens?
Yeah, that's why the diet, that's why the diet is so temporary. It has to be something that you can sustain and live with.
Exactly. Without weighing my food.
Right.
Okay. I don't want to have a scale in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I hate the one in the bathroom, and now I hate the one in the kitchen.
Right.
Okay. I hate them all. So it's like, I want to just what works. What's like, and there's no maintenance, but at the same time, and usually it just comes down to selection. Like in a home for me, it's like controlling your environment.
Okay.
What do you bring in the home? If I open the cabinet, okay, what's in there? Okay, that just says everything.
Right.
So it's all choices. I remember when my kids were young, we made their food, and we pureed stuff. We fed them all natural, everything, raised them that way. Their friends would come over and open the fridge, there's no food. I go, what do you mean it's full? But they're seeing greens and all this stuff. They're like, you can't eat this. I go, you can eat all that. So my kids ate it all the time. We didn't, but they didn't, other people were all convenience.
Right.
It's got to come in a box or a wrapper, or you got to do something. It wasn't, we cooked all our food.
Right.
My kids ate out, honestly, before probably first 10 years of their life. They probably ate in a restaurant 4 times.
Right.
5 times, and not like I'm some, nut job, but it's just, I have 6 kids.
Okay.
It's way easier to cook for them. And then, we're eating different times and everything else. So it's, and I wanted to teach them that.
Yes.
Do this. This is food.
Right.
This is what food is. See, smells. So now they're 18, 19, 20 years old. But, you can always smell something when you come into our house. We create the memories, right?
Right. I love that. But
also, it's the habits, and that's what they'll long for.
Right.
And it's this quality food.
And for everyone listening, I don't think, I'm a big fan of having, leveraging technology and measuring things. But yeah, you don't need to be entrapped, enslaved to it, because even when I was getting my exercise science degree, Dr. Zembrowski taught us that, underwater weighing was the gold standard for body composition. But he's like, by the way, you can look in the mirror and know, whether you have a healthy weight or not and how it's distributed. And it's the same today, right? I can eyeball my plate and know if it's got mixed colors, and, it doesn't have any, it's not exclusively wrapper and box driven, all processed. We can look at the size of our fist for portions. Mm-hmm. There's practicality, right? Because especially the entrepreneurs listening, we have to move fast. So it's kind of like, leverage sophisticated stuff, but be ready to have some field tests and to balance that with moving efficiently.
It's like I always tell people, my kids, I was like, we learn iron sights first on the guns.
Okay.
You master the iron sights, and then you can get your red dot.
Okay.
Okay, because we're not going to depend on that technology. We're going to do it with iron sights, and then you can add a red dot, because that's going to help too.
Right.
But not until you master that, right? So it's like you're saying.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Principles all the way around. I think,
mm-hmm.
I think from a performance standpoint for entrepreneurs, we do need ritual. right? I have my morning ritual I go through and
Yes.
stuff. We need to build these habits and these things that operate in our zone. Because even though entrepreneurship can be a little chaotic, we're still in the place. We're in the groove, right? So chaos, a little bit of chaos is part of the job, right? So you just learn how to manage that. You're going to have these tactical issues that pop up, right? Because that's business.
Right.
Then we try to create systems and we keep that from happening. We do all that cool stuff. But at the same time, we can't fold because of that. We can't reach for the wrong food,
Right.
because of stress, right? Like I used to do that a lot. Same thing, you get that. It was just medication. Food was just medication for me.
Yeah. Understood.
And it sucked.
Right.
It's just like you start realizing like, man, this is like a dependency. So we got to learn that stuff. It's crazy.
Well, you and I talked about, weaving in some self-care conversation. This is why I feel like on the strategy part of things, I was lucky enough to be mentored in the business planning process. And I realized in 2018, when I started helping entrepreneurs, that the traditional planning process was too bulky for most small business owners. So I really boiled it down and made it fast and functional. But I did add one step, a personal mission, your cause, your reason, your why. And I feel like entrepreneurs have to figure that out first and look through that lens. And often it is health and family. And so it's hard for us, right? Because we want to make sure everyone else gets paid. It's like, profit last instead of profit first, unfortunately, right? For those familiar with Michael Michalowicz, and which is a fantastic concept, right? But we're paying everyone else first, not only in money, but financially, but in time and energy. And we're going to be the last ones to take care of ourselves. And we have to flip that paradigm because, frankly, we won't be sustainable. If we're going to run in the red for an extended period of time, we will eventually break down.
Yeah, I think mothers are like that. They are. They're everything for the kids.
For sure.
Everything's for their last. The frugality. Everything they do is for others.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing to help a mother like, hey, like, listen, you're raising 6 kids. We're homeschooling all 6 of them. Okay. Like you need to go and have some time.
For sure.
You got to there's things you got to decompress and you got to have that because people don't think that's part of, they go, that's way worse than what I'm doing. Not worse, but harder, right? I go, I can't do that. I can only teach art and PE.
Right.
You got to do the hard stuff. So like all day and taking places. So it's not just the entrepreneur. It's people in these different roles in a family itself adds that additional stress.
Sure.
You come home again. What are you doing at the end of the day? The problem is when you come home and you're completely out of gas because you're really not taking care of yourself. You're not aware of that stuff. Now you're of no use to your family.
Absolutely.
You want to be left alone. You're going to watch TV. You're going to go to sleep. It's that. And from that denial you just talked about, get paid last, do this, give.
Right.
It's backwards thinking.
Mm-hmm.
It's completely backwards. It doesn't mean that you're self-serving, right? And it's all about you.
Right.
But like you've got to prioritize. I mean, I have to teach my owners when I coach them. I always ask them, what are you worth per hour? I'll take a survey. And you know what you hear, $100, $150 now. I'm going, seriously? That's all you think you're worth? I'm like, and I have to walk them through it. And I get it, well, you're worth about $1,500 an hour.
Right.
So should you be cleaning the toilets for $1,500 an hour? Should you be doing this? Should you be doing that? So you kind of walk them through and you have to change the mindset on that.
Right.
Not just for like a value, but value is it's kind of a big thing because if you value something, you take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
You wash your car, you change the oil, you put new tires on it, right? You value it so it runs and works properly, but you don't do it to yourself.
Right.
And a lot of times it's for lack of knowledge.
Okay.
Would you agree? Do you see that people just don't know?
I think that's part of it. Like especially depending what age you are when you have a business. I can remember a few years ago being at a conference in Trenton with Mr. Wonderful, and there was an amazing entrepreneur, speaking of franchises. Maybe she was 30 and she had like 20 franchises, and they presented a real estate opportunity and she jumped into it. And I knew she was already working a lot as a franchisor. And I said, how much are you working now? She was like, 60 hours a week. I said, well, how are you going to fit this in? She's like, I'm going to sleep less. And so we don't, we've got these healthy bodies, hopefully, for those of us who do. And, not everyone does. It's a gift, but I think we need to protect our health because we really don't know, it's not a promise, right, to have health. And one of my favorite sayings, and I coach myself on this, is, someone without their health has one dream, right? And someone with their health has a million dreams. So it's that simple, right? When we don't have our health, and probably good analogies are oxygen mask, and like you have to have your cup overflowing. It's not self-serving, to your point.
Yeah, I think it's really important to understand that taking on more, okay, so again, it always comes down to, as an entrepreneur, you want to do more, get more, but people haven't really processed. One thing I always teach is, well, how much is enough?
Right.
That's what you need to decide.
Totally.
Because you can go, how much is enough and when?
Very few entrepreneurs talk about this. I always cite one of my favorite people and mentors, Johnny Dumas, who wrote the foreword of my book, Entrepreneurs on Fire podcast, and he knows is enough. Yeah, he's really more of calls himself a lifestyle entrepreneur, but you hear very few people talking about that. And for everyone listening as well, what Johnny Dumas talks about is when you're beyond the startup phase, right? Everyone's going to grind in the startup phase. So let's be real. Let's be, honest. Once you've got a little, once you're beyond that, you've got a little bit of stability, we've got to start ratcheting it down. You just can't go like that. You will lose your spouse and your health. Something will go. And then you have to ask yourself, okay, we hit, 5, 10, 50 million, whatever the numbers are in revenue, and the business is valued at this, but is that worth it, right? If you really lose some of your priorities.
You're divorced, your kids don't talk to you.
Yeah.
You don't see your friends, but hey, your company's worth 100 million.
Yeah.
So it's a lot to sacrifice. So I think it's important. Again, we do that a lot from an exit strategy standpoint. I try to have them do it before they launch the business. Like, know when it is. Is it 10 years, is it 20 years, 5 years?
I love that.
How much?
Mm-hmm.
Now we accept, because then the 2 years, you got to work hard.
Right.
You're going to wear a lot of hats, you can do all that. But the problem, Lance, is next thing you know, it's 10 years and everyone's repeated the first 2 times.
1,000%.
That's where they are, because they don't have the end game.
Right.
You don't have a plan. You don't know where you're going. You're just doing it. And it feels like it's the old rocking horse, motion and progress.
Okay.
Rocking horse stays in motion, but doesn't make any progress.
Right.
You're on the rocking horse.
I like that.
That's all you're doing. So you're not going anywhere. So and this totally coincides with the health standpoint, because if you don't have a plan, okay, there's just, you're not going to plan your health.
Yeah.
You're not going to plan your exercise routines. You're not going to plan your sleep, which is really, I'd love to hit on that real quick too, because sleep, I was a 4-hour-a-night guy. Like when I was young, I'm boxing, I come on Marine Corps, I'm working 3 jobs, trying to get a business going, doing all this stuff. I'm getting 4 hours a night. I'm running 8 miles in the morning, speed workouts, work all day, go to the gym, spar, do 12 rounds on the bags and everything else, and go work at a bar, work the door, get to midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, go home every day.
Yeah.
6-7 days a week, doing that kind of
You're
stuff.
amazing.
It wasn't sustainable. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But then later in life too, I had 6 kids. We were all within 4 years, under 4 years of each other. Okay. You're not sleeping. Right. I'm passing out at my desk in the office. Right. My husband's like, go take a nap in the shop. So I'm like, I got to keep going, and then finally I opened a gym. Okay, now I'm healthy. I've got all this stuff back. I'm going to open a gym. So I'm doing that. And then a trainer of mine, another Marine, actually, because we had kind of boot camp style training, so I had all kinds of jarheads working for me.
Nice.
And he's like, you're still doing 4 hours a night? I go, yeah, I kind of know what he goes, try 7. Just try 7.
Right.
And I go, okay. Like, I wasn't like opposed. I was like, it's been 10 years.
Oh, good
7
for you.
hours a night. Now I'm like,
nice.
I don't use an alarm.
Okay.
I wake up at 4 a.m. every day, no alarm.
Okay.
I go to bed at 9 o'clock. I'm tired at 9, ready to go. Yeah. My body knows. And I'm like, if it's 5 after, it's like, hey, I got to go to.
Yes.
So that sleep is like the undervalued, underrated, misunderstood aspect of health.
It can
talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, the short answer is it will absolutely make you perform better. Just doing motor tasks, the research is clear, playing the piano, whatever, and then a good night's sleep, you will perform better than where you left off last. And Matt Walker is one of the foremost neuroscientists who specializes in sleep. And I read his, literature cover to cover. And I saw very clearly that the magic is between 7 and 9 hours. And, I'm so glad you're at 7. And that's basically where I am. I've increased to 7 and I feel way better. But I do want to try 7.5, 8 hours and see how I feel and try to figure it out. And then the other thing that I was going to say will come back to me. But yeah, sleep is, I guess on the downside, not only can it be like totally performance enhancing, but it'll be like kryptonite, right? I mean, my son, they had off school today, my older 2 kids, for teachers in service today. So they were out later. They didn't have to get up. And the same thing for all of us, right? Who pulled all-nighters studying or for whatever reason have had a terrible night's sleep. What you function like the next day. That's a one-day experiment. That's very clear.
I think one of the studies I enjoy and I share often with my wife and kids is you don't get more rest by sleeping in later. You only get true rest from going to bed earlier.
Okay.
They did all these studies on that. So if you go to bed at midnight and normally you get up at 6, but you sleep until 9, you didn't get 3 hours of additional rest.
Right. Yeah.
It's got to go early, go to bed at 7, get up at 5.
Your consistent bedtime is one of the top, criteria, top indicators to try to, and I've done that more on weekends. I've become a little bit less fun, maybe, but
Lance, I'm 4 a.m. 7 days a week, brother.
Okay, good for
There's
you. I love
no
it.
exceptions, and because you know why? I'm going to be selfish. Ain't nobody up.
Right.
I can sit in my chair in the dark, sipping my little mushroom coffee, waiting for the sun to come up in the east, looking out the window. I was like, this is living. I'll do my Bible study, man. I get that time. I'm listening to and just 5:30 off to the gym. So that first hour and a half is just I make no decisions until I finish my second cup of that mushroom. Like at night, I'm not working out tomorrow, man. I feel terrible.
Right.
Nope. I just think, nope, that is not a decision I'm making. We'll revisit this after cup 2. And you know what? I'm always going to the gym.
Okay. That doesn't surprise me.
But you know what I mean? I need that. And I take an hour plus to drink those 2 cups.
Right.
Right. But then I'm like, I can go. And then even if I'm a little on the fence, I go warm up only.
Okay.
Get there, 10 minutes, break that sweat. If I still not feeling it, I'll go home.
This is kind of like James Clear type stuff, just starting small and just building on those habits. Yeah. Right. And I love how you've really built a nice, morning routine with, how Elrod created the whole, Miracle Morning. And, I know Alex Hormozy's kind of like get up, get to work. That's the opposite end of the spectrum. But I do think I like to pay myself first, even with exercise, just the investing philosophy. Yeah, that works better for me.
I need to work out in the morning because if I go like 3 o'clock, I used to do it in the evening. Like if I go now, I just don't have the gas.
Right.
Because I want to kill myself in the workout.
Right.
I want all the energy I can expend.
Good.
So it's like I rock that bag, man. I work. I'm going a hard out. I am soaked to my shorts. Like I am working.
Right.
And if I can't do that, it's a disappointment.
Yeah.
If I'm literally like tired from the day, it's been, been up since 4. Now it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right.
Now I'm going for the workout, so I've really trained myself. Like you go.
You've made yourself a bigger priority this time is into self-care. Right. And it's hard to do, right? I mean, I wanted to be the first person in the office and the last one to leave. And, I get it. So this takes some mindset work, which is the other thing I was going to say. Really, it sounds like, your 2 cups of coffee, there's a lot of mindset shifting and mental work happening there. So for everyone listening, is there any more insight that you have? How do you talk to yourself? What's your self-talk during that time?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, and it continues during my workout. There's a lot of talking going on during my workout. Like that's why people don't talk to me at the gym. I mean, the heavy bag is an opponent, Lance, like every day.
Right.
And I'm trying to put it to sleep. It wins every day. But you don't want to, I'm that guy. I'm that guy in the gym. But when I'm talking to myself in the morning, I really am going through, not like what I'm going to do today. Like some people, I go through my day. I'm like challenging myself. And I'm also, and I'm just being transparent. There's all times I'm talking down to myself.
Okay.
Like, dude, you're like this is not happening.
Right.
You're not where you're supposed to be, and that's And I have things I say to myself, and some people argue you shouldn't say that. I'm a negative reinforcement guy.
Okay.
That's why I'm a Marine. We thrive on negative reinforcement.
Okay.
Okay. You tell us how we're not this and not that, and not many people can operate that way, but I do.
Okay.
So that's it. If I ever when I have a trainer, they have to use negative reinforcement.
Okay.
You're not going to be all, yay, you're doing really good. I want to hear the exact opposite.
Right. Yeah, I'm a positive reinforcement, but I guess this is the art of customization. I think for the leaders listening, you need to get to know your audience and know what serves them well, which will be by soliciting feedback, right? You'll have to have some good open dialogue with them.
Yeah, it works for me, and I understand. Like I said, a very small percentage of us can operate that way on that kind of feedback. But that's what really, it pushes me. It helps me go hard. So I have these conversations with myself in the morning.
Right.
And I have to do this stuff, then go throughout the day and then remind myself and go. So it's a really powerful start to my day, to have that talk, because I don't think it's a motivation thing. I don't need to be motivated. No one has to motivate me. I have a saying. I tell people, I go, well, you can't motivate the unmotivated.
Right.
I said, so people who read motivational books are already motivated.
Right.
They want more. People who are healthy, you know what they want? More healthy. Right? People with high energy, you know what they want? More energy. Okay, so that's like, you got your customer, right?
Right.
Knowing who you are, so energy creates more energy to me. If I don't go to the gym in the morning, the day's not good.
Sure.
I'm slower. I'm not as sharp.
Right.
That kind of thing. So and again, that's part of self-awareness.
Right.
We have to understand how that really works, and it's a good thing.
And I was going to share an example. I was working with an entrepreneur that had 50 offices, about a $45 million, $50 million revenue company. And when I started coaching them, he said, Lance, I'm carrying my gym bag with me during the week, and I'm only getting to work out on weekends. He thought time was going to like magically appear in his schedule.
Yeah.
To hey, come to the gym. This hour is opening up, and no one's going to text me, call me, email me.
Good thing you got your gym bag.
Yeah.
Today's the day.
Right.
Yeah.
So, just to give everyone listening, right, no matter what size you are, it's not going to magically happen. You definitely have to take the time, create a plan.
And the studies show the longer the day goes without working out, the more apt you are not to do it.
Okay.
All the studies show that.
I believe that.
Again, years in the gym business, training business, you look at the cancel. No one's canceling at 5 a.m.
Okay, you're
for
right.
their workout.
Right.
My 5 a.m. class is packed.
Right.
Same people, they work out 5 days a week. Never miss a day.
People, they're a special breed. I love them. Well, you're obviously one of them. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm a little bit more moderate. I'm waking up at 6, working out at 6:30. But I love the 5:30 people.
No, I get it. But even 6 that's early.
Yeah.
Okay, that's early in your day. It's not. I'm not saying that 5:30 is the way to go, but you'll see this. When I get to the gym at 5:45, the same people are coming out who got there at 5.
Sure.
Every day, they never miss.
I love those morning people.
You get 3, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock workouts. It's all over the map.
Life gets too busy, right? And that's part of the reason I'm getting up at 6 now, because my kids are staying up later and the dogs don't want to go to bed, and again, to get that sleep. And sort of what we were talking about earlier, I broke it up into the 5 disciplines that I mentioned: mental health, nutrition, sleep, exercise, posture. But whatever way you slice it, it's either going to be synergistically positive or negative, right? If you get one terrible night of sleep, you pull an all-nighter, you're not going to eat well the next day, and you're not going to get your exercise. You're not going to be able to train hard. And the same thing, if you're just right now listening and you're trying to break in, pick whichever one resonates with you. Get a good night's sleep, get some movement, just start to break in, and then you could gradually increase the dial on each of them.
Yeah, I think that's important because, again, from an entrepreneurial mindset, I'm kind of an all or nothing guy.
I knew you were going to go down that road. Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to get on the rower and I'm going to pull. Okay. I'm not doing a couple minutes. I'm going to do a 5K under 2 minutes per 500.
Right.
No matter how I feel. Right. And then I'll, whatever. But it can work, but usually you got if you tether that and just start, like you said, in the old routine with a little something new and just slowly increase that. Because I would do that even exercise. My kids, I said, well, just add 30 seconds. Do it for 30 seconds more tomorrow. I go, just 30 seconds. Don't do it anymore. Just 30 seconds. When I was kind of doing a little comeback myself, I'm like, well, I committed to 20 push-ups. I'm going to do those in the kitchen. I get up, come on with about 20 push-ups. That's all I have to do. Then I'm succeed. So I did 20 and I stand up. I'm like, well, I'll do 10 more. So I do 10 more. When I'm done, Lance, I did 170 push-ups. Okay, because I was only committed to 20.
Mm-hmm.
But then I just kept, okay, I'll just do more. So I'll just keep going, but I kept it at 20. Like the next day and the next day and the next day. Then I slowly started to increase that bottom number, but I was able to succeed every day.
Right.
If I hit those, right? But then if everything else is bonus. But I had to retrain myself thinking, because 20 is not a workout, dude.
Right.
Okay, 20 push-ups, like, you're pathetic. Now, my negative,
especially
negative reinforcement.
A Paris Island guy like you, for sure.
Yeah.
I've got some Marines in the family. I know.
Yeah. So it's just, and there's so many different ways to go about things. But I think the whole premise is to begin. If you're not there, and if you're on your way there, you keep going.
Yes.
And add more. Like, you got a little research, talking to guys like you, read your book. Like, let's talk about the book specifically right now.
Okay.
Let's dive in there for a few minutes.
Sure.
Tell us exactly why you wrote it, what's, is in it, and kind of what we can expect to get out of it.
Sure. Yeah. So in 2018, I had built a self-managing company. I didn't know that term, right? For those listening that know, Ben Hardy, him and Dan Sullivan have made this term famous with their last 3 books, which I'd recommend checking out: Gap in the Gain, 10X is Easier Than 2X, and Who Not How. And, partnership was definitely part of that equation for me. But I wanted to share the success that I had growing our practice and having our team run it and lead it. So I tried to put it into a step-by-step process. And the first section is introspection, just really self-assessing and discovering yourself, going deep, figuring out what's most important to you. And the second section is business fundamentals, which we've kind of touched on a little bit with systems and processes, building your chessboard, your org chart, and having your position descriptions match that, and having your processes, everything like McDonald's, and then having a strategy, which we've talked about. And then lastly, no matter what size you are, knowing where your gaps are so you can gradually keep growing and replace those as you're able to support that. And then lastly, it's the lifestyle. We talked about the mental health, and then nutrition, sleep, exercise, and posture, and then the play and humor as well. So yeah, just wanted to share everything that I learned and put it into a step-by-step process. And I made the book so you can literally, it's you can write in there. Every chapter is action. So people can either blow through it and read it and then, do the process, or do each step one at a time. And I guess some other things that tell me how you want to spend our time, but I did want to share, thoughts on partnership, because for everyone listening that's trying to figure out how you replace those hats, get more time for your health, definitely know your numbers. Get a nice dashboard. Consider incentivizing your people, which to me is really just creating win-wins and preliminary for partnership. I love partnership track, helped me accelerate a self-managing business. Yeah, and I was just kind of mentioning to you, I've noticed even more recently, like QuickBooks and Intuit, as big as they are, there's still a gap in projecting forward. Like the software, it's not that good. It's financials is backwards looking. It's a lagging indicator, especially cash-based. Accrual-based, we're getting a little bit better, but we even need to be better. So that's a gap that I'm working on.
Hey, you know what's funny? I'll give you a quick thing. So I see a QuickBooks commercial on TV, and they got the business owner. So they got the photographer. They're like a wedding or something, right? And they show her, right? She's taking pictures.
I know the commercial.
You got the plumber, right? You got the plumber, right? He's
Yep.
adjusting the fountain. The plumber who owns the business, he's adjusting the fountain. The other person, whatever they do, they're doing the catering, or they're doing the work.
Right.
And then they're saying QuickBooks. This is why it doesn't work. This is why you're seeing, because they're only serving people who are stuck
Right.
on the hamster wheel. They're
Right.
what I call the owner prison, right? My book's Escape the Owner Prison.
Yeah, okay.
Because they're just like you, they're stuck there, and this is being promoted.
Right.
Okay, so and this is how I look at commercials. I'm so odd. I look at the real message. I say, what are they really saying here? Like, you want to stay trapped? Get QuickBooks.
Right.
They're not talking about freeing you up. You're still turning the wrench.
Totally.
Yeah.
All technician work. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just like, man, so I totally get what you're saying. And the partnership thing is interesting. And we'll spend maybe a minute here on this.
Okay.
I get what you're like. And you're talking legit partners, like they
am.
own a piece of the business, right?
Yes.
Because I have a friend who has butcher shops.
Okay.
Right. I mean, he's great. He's got 4 or 5 now. And one of his philosophies is he takes the manager and he finds the right guy, makes him a 10% owner.
Right.
Okay. So now he's got the incentive and he runs the show.
Yeah. I love that.
And he goes and opens another one, And every person at each store is a 10% owner.
Got it. I've seen that motto as well. And I have some friends that are doing very well with that motto. And I debated on that model versus just keeping it one pie. Because, some downsides of that are then if an individual manager who's running a store, instead of being for all the breakthroughs, they might say, hey, Dr. Smith, in my world as a physical therapist, refer to the Medford location versus refer to Breakthrough, whatever's most convenient for your clients. So both are good. And of course, there's always trade-offs. But
Yes, it's good. But I think people just, real quick, you have to that self-managing you're talking about. We want a self-running business.
Right.
Okay. I want people to work on the 5% that only they can do. You're doing the 5% only you can do. Direction and vision and the big picture, writing books, building more authority, right, for the practice. Every book you write is an authority builder for your entire practice, right? So that kind of stuff you can't do if you're putting in 60 a week, okay, and doing all this kind of stuff. You're not writing anything.
For sure.
Except like your epitaph.
Right.
It's like, so you gotta really keep that in perspective. So those are good things. We'll have to do a whole nother one on that kind of stuff.
Okay. Love to.
We'll have to do like a part 2 and really dig into some of the business stuff.
Okay.
I really wanted to hit the health stuff because I just don't think, and on my previous podcast, same thing, I had some really good health experts on the entrepreneurial side, because I think it's really important that we understand the performance enhancement that it can become. And how when you don't have it, you're as entrepreneurs, we're usually always the problem in the business.
Yes.
If we're honest.
Extreme ownership. Absolutely.
We're the stumbling blocks.
Yes.
We're the ones keeping things from happening. We're the ones not getting a coach.
Right.
Right. All this stuff. So we're usually the problem.
Yes.
And health is definitely our problem.
And, on the health topic, one thing that I'm traditionally, traditional medical, and they've discovered functional medicine physicians. They look at things definitely differently. And, I've been seeing someone now for this year, and they're definitely fine tuning some things for me. And I've showed every traditional medical person in my, team, and they just, it's totally novel. They are like, well, we don't look at it that way. Right. But, cardiologist was going to give me statins, and now in like 3 months of trying some supplements, my LDL and my Lipo-A is like statins are not even mentioned. And that was the biggest, test. So, be open-minded, I guess, to health, and definitely don't just accept, the first thing, we don't want to be like our parents' generation where healthcare, physicians say something and we just take it, right? We need to ask questions, understand the research and the literature. And
right. I think as an entrepreneur too, like we're innovators. We're doing things. We're out there in front. So why aren't you doing that with your health? Right. You should be open to that too. Yeah. The problem is people think it's too much work.
Right. If you gamify it a little bit, going back to what you said, if we think of entrepreneurship and even life as kind of like an adventure, a friend of mine who's coming out with his book, he'd be a great guest. I'll connect you with him. Lanil Mitchell, The Strong Angle is his concept. But this adventure concept, that already helped me this week, right? It's never going to be easy, just like an adventure, but we're going to go out and we're going to try to slay dragons,
Right. Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, and you got to be equipped. You got to be fit. We have a saying, if you're not fit, you're not fit to lead.
For sure.
We do that. We're like, it's, it's just until you do it, you won't understand the benefit. Right. And that's the bad news.
The ultimate personal development tool, I wouldn't want to rush anyone into entrepreneurship, but you'll never be as developed as you are when you take the leap.
Yeah, I try to tell people, I go, listen, we're dying every day. Every day we're dying. Okay?
For sure.
We can slow that down.
Our clock is ticking. There's no argument.
I'm rocking the bag, Lance, one day, and I'm in the gym, and there's all these treadmills, and I'm kind of like a circus show. I'm in the corner, there's a track in this, and I go bananas for like 10 rounds, 3-minute rounds, but where I get done, this young kid's running on the treadmill, and he goes, are you training for a fight? And I just go, nope, just staying dangerous. And he's like, oh, I'm like, dude, I'm like going to be 60. I'm 59, like in 2 days. So I'm like, I'm not getting in the ring anymore. I don't do that anymore. I haven't got in the ring since before you were born, but I keep the skills sharp.
Right.
I still work. I'm still a formidable opponent. I mean, I have a wife and children to protect. I have other people. It's like, I have purpose all the way around. Like I said, it's always an opponent, but it's my mindset. But it gives me incredible joy.
That goes right to the name of your podcast. Always staying.
That's right. Stand sharp, man. Yep. You got to stay sharp, man. Well, Lance, this has been awesome. This has been absolutely awesome. I've really loved this. Again, we're going to do a part 2 for sure, because I could do 5 parts on this stuff. I love it. But how can people get a hold of you, follow you, get your book? Give us the full everything. I'll put it all in the show notes too.
Yeah. And again, everyone listening, please like, follow, subscribe, all the things. Richard is a badass and doing some incredible things in life and business. So yeah, check me out. Follow me, DenaliConsultingTeam.com, like the mountain. That's the native term for, the highest peak.
McKinley.
Correct.
Mount McKinley.
Yep. And on socials and LinkedIn, most of my handles are Dr. Lance Knaub, Knaub. And the 4% Breakthrough, check it out for everyone who's trying to scale their business and stay healthy at the same time, get paid for the roles you have, double-digit profitability beyond that, and then have a valuable asset where you can either keep your profit-generating machine or sell it. We didn't get a whole lot into this, but private equity offers you ridiculous amounts of money when you don't want to sell and they want your business. So check out the book, follow the process, reach out, anything you need. Happy to help. Dr. Lance Knaub at DenaliConsultingTeam.com. Can't thank you enough for being here today, Richard.
Well, Lance, thank you for being here. And part 2 will be on the business side.
Okay. That sounds great.
We'll tear that up. We'll have a good time with that too. So
let's do it.
We'll be more focused.
Okay.
We couldn't get it all in this one because that's just who we are.
For sure.
So it's all good. So I love it. So thanks for being here, everyone. We'll see you again on the next Sharpen the Spear podcast.
All right. Thanks, Richard.
And don't forget, revenue feeds the ego, profit feeds the family. So if you want to see how I can show you at least $100,000 in hidden annual profits in less than 3 minutes, and not only show you where, but how to create that 100K in 6 months or less without additional advertising or marketing spend, guaranteed, just go to sharpenthespearcoaching.com. See how truly simple it is. That's sharpenthespearcoaching.com. Do it now.